I often ask myself the question, what defines a great laptop? Is it a good portable form factor? Is it all-day battery life? Perhaps it's top-tier performance or just general good build quality? Well, the answer is it's usually a combination of all those things, and I've been taking the Asus Zenbook S14 for a full-out test drive for the past several days, at least at the time of this video, and the fact is that I really have come to a pretty solid conclusion of exactly what this laptop is capable of, and it really is a very unique experience, trust me. With that said, today we're going to objectively look at all the things you need to know about this laptop in our typical review style to give you guys an honest idea of exactly what the S14 is capable of delivering. The configuration we have here is the most current generation, meaning it has Intel's Core Ultra 7 258V processor. We also do have 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5X memory. Additionally, we have a nice large 1TB SSD, Intel's latest generation integrated ARC graphics. Furthermore, we have Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4 standards, and this is a crisp 14-inch OLED 3K panel. So what are we waiting for? Let's get into it. Asus loves playing with our hearts because at first glance you get a pretty standard looking cardboard box and you're like, really Asus? But in typical Asus fashion, once you open that up, inside you have a far more petite box that's more befitting of a PC of this caliber per se. Open that up, inside behind some protective packaging, here it is, the Zenbook S14 in the flesh, in that aluminum material, but more on that in a second. We also do have the inclusion of a 65-watt charging adapter, and it is a all-in-one design with a Type-C connection. And then lastly, we do have a paper envelope inside which you'll find all the documentation. When it comes to Zenbooks, Asus does not play around with their design. They are all about making them sleek, low profile, linear, and at the same time just look very slim in general, and they definitely achieve that. On top of that, it has the classic metallic exterior that we're all used to, with a twist with the aluminum build on some parts of the device itself, which is a mixture of ceramics and aluminum coming together. Pretty cool stuff. Now, with that said, the most impressive part is that the laptop only has an overall weight of just 2.6 pounds, making one of the lightest 14-inch laptops and truly a portable device. Now, starting with the top side, that's where you'll notice the primary aluminum, I believe that's how it's pronounced, material build is applied. And it looks like a stone-like visual, but when you touch it, it feels like traditional metal, which is really a very unique thing. And it's also highly fingerprint resistant, which is also nice. You have a pretty decent selection of I/O ports on either side. So on one side, you have a HDMI 2.1 port, then you get two fully loaded Thunderbolt 4 Type-C ports, and the good old headphone jack. On the other side, you have a single USB-A port. The only thing really missing here, to a critical extent, honestly, is a SD card reader. This is a productivity machine, Asus. It should be a standard feature, something that definitely will be missed on this device. The bottom side of the laptop, pretty standard stuff. You have a metallic lid here. You'll also notice you have a long air intake vent at the top side. It has a dual fan setup. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then you'll also notice you actually have a 4-speaker system. 2 of these speakers are located on the bottom, as you can see these subtle grills over here. The very moment you unfold this laptop, you actually get a sense of a much larger device than this actually is, probably due to the combination of color as well as metallic inner chassis here, just making it look very expansive. Now, the real gem, of course, is at the center. You have this really large trackpad, and it is as good as it is big. I meant that strictly in a technical way, seriously. But the point is that it really is that good. It's got a high quality glass surface finish. It is very tactile, and while it's not haptic, it just feels great to use overall and genuinely a great experience. The keyboard is equally as impressive. You've got nice large keycaps, easy to read fonts. Additionally, the keycap colors are closely coordinated with the rest of the inner chassis. And I also love the fact that the keyboard is fully backlit, and of course that is a standard feature. You don't get a 10 keypad, which makes total sense given this is just a mere 14-inch device. You'll also notice that the typing experience here is top-notch because of the fact that you get a lot of key travel despite how slim this device is. It's tactile and it feels responsive, making for a great typing experience. Directly above the keyboard, you kind of have these holes punched into the actual body for passive cooling. The hinge quality here is very respectable. It doesn't have any wobble, you can open it up with a single hand. The only odd thing is that despite having a touch captive system, we don't get a full 180-degree tilt. Odd choice. Now display fitting is narrow but not the thinnest in the industry. You do have a bit of a noticeable chin at the bottom. It's not too dramatic, but it's definitely there. The side bezels are nice and narrow, providing for a immersive view. And then at the top, again, a bit of a noticeable forehead, but nothing too dramatic. And at the center, you have a decent quality full HD webcam with a built-in IR scanner. The display over here is a chef's kiss, and why shouldn't it be? I mean, let's just look at the technical specs. We get a nice high quality 14-inch OLED panel with a sharp 3K resolution. Furthermore, we also do have a really fast response rate of 0.2 milliseconds and a refresh rate of 120 Hz. Past that, we get a peak brightness up to 500 nits with HDR content, a built-in UV blue light filter. Now it is worth noting you do have a glossy finish here, which means you are going to get a substantial amount of glare. Thankfully, the brightness can help compensate for that. Now you do have a fully touch captive display here. However, again, due to the limited tilt angle, your mileage will vary in terms of its usefulness. Color settings, or I guess rating, is pretty impressive. Got a 100% DCI-P3 color gamut coverage and a 100% sRGB rating as well, making colors look vivid, lifelike, and great for multimedia consumption. A quick recap of the technical specifications we get here. So we do have Intel's Core Ultra 7 258V processor. Depending on where you are, you may also get the lower tier 256V processor or even a Core Ultra 5. You do get 32GB of LPDDR5X memory here, though again this might also be spec'd with a 16GB variant as well. And then we do get standard across the board Intel's integrated Arc 140V graphics. At its very essence, the Asus Zenbook S14 is a multi-purpose productivity machine, and for the most part it excels. So everything from general productivity activity like surfing the web, crunching Word documents is obviously going to be a fluid experience. You can do more demanding activities like programming and code compilation. Again, thanks to the ample amount of memory as well as horsepower, you'll get away with some great performance. Now, if you do try to do 3D level animations on programs like Blender, for example, your mileage will be quite limited because you don't have a discrete GPU. So you can get away with basic scenes, but if you add too many elements, you will start noticing reduction in performance overall. Now, as far as video editing goes, which is often considered the most demanding kind of activity, it's pretty smooth. So programs like DaVinci Resolve can easily handle multiple layers of full HD video editing without any hiccups and with minimal frame drops. You can even get away with some degree of 4K video editing as long as you don't have too many layers and you're not doing color grading. Export times are quite fast as well and respectable. Now you can even do some degree of gaming, so Intel's integrated Arc graphics are quite capable, so games like Counter-Strike 2 for example can fluidly run around 60 FPS, though we did notice the occasional jitter, but this seems to be more of an optimization issue than a hardware performance one. Thermals here are respectable but not necessarily industry leading, so we found under a unrealistic peak load we hit a average surface temperature on the top thirds of approximately 39 degrees Celsius, which is definitely cooler than previous generations, but a little bit on the warmer side relative to some other devices we've tested. And we found with a more realistic sustained load you'll get around 37 degrees Celsius, again a nice number but not as cool as the likes of the new HP OmniBook with the Lunar Lake chipset. Now you will find that dual fan setup is actually very quiet. Even under peak loads, it rarely goes to 40 decibels, which is a very respectable number, and the device, again, for the most part, does manage to stay respectably cool. Self-upgradability, like most modern day laptops, is very limited, so you can basically only really upgrade the preoccupied M.2 slot with another M.2 drive. Both the RAM as well as connectivity module are hard soldered. Battery life has been fantastic, both part and thanks to a 72 watt-hour capacity as well as the Lunar Lake chipset in general. We were able to get a realistic runtime of approximately 13.5 hours on a single charge with a mixed general productivity use case, and that is a very impressive number compared to previous generations especially. As far as the speaker quality is concerned, it's pretty good. It's not as good as the likes of the MacBook Pro series for example, but the 4-speaker system here can definitely hold its own ground. Here's here's a quick sound test for reference.
So I gotta get through it, and the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always.
With a $1,500 USD price point for the top of the line configuration that we reviewed here, the fact is that the Zenbook S14 is definitely a expensive and premium tier device, and I think for the most part it definitely lives up to it. You've got a very high quality build, some great components like a high quality keyboard and trackpad, a stunning display that has a lot to offer, and combine that with the fact that you get some pretty exceptional performance courtesy of Intel's new Lunar Lake chips, and the fact that you have some pretty decent thermals and battery life to go with that. It's a great combination. Now, things aren't perfect. For example, 3D level tasks like, doing extensive 3D work isn't going to be ideal on this device due to the lack of a discrete GPU, but that's not really what it's intended for anyway. And then not having an SD card reader is again a little bit of an odd thing to do, but other than those things, this is again a very nice device that definitely has a competitive edge in a lot of ways. And if you are looking for a extremely lightweight but performance oriented device that delivers an efficiency, I really can't think of too many other competitors that do as good a job as the current generation Zenbook S14. Let me know what you think of this device. If you already own it, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. And as always, if you guys enjoyed the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, so I can continue doing what I do, which is making videos for you awesome people. Catch you in the next one.